What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks.
I do have a media recommendation.
I love Lord of the Rings. Superheroes, movies, a little jack of all trades, I guess.
So what makes me a geek?
What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks, the weekly pop culture podcast from Central Michigan Life, where we discuss all things geek culture, which is like high culture, but better. If this is your first time joining us, make sure you follow the CM Life Instagram and Twitter pages for updates on the podcast, and to look for us wherever you find your podcasts, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our website at www.cm-life.com. My name is Brendan Valentine, coming to you from the Upside Down today, and I would like to thank you all for joining me and my fellow co-hosts this week, who will introduce themselves in a second with our question of the week. This week's question is, what is the part of Halloween you geek out about the most? For my answer, I geek out about not making my Halloween costume, but like being in character in my Halloween costume. That's my favorite part. Like I rarely go like all out for a costume, but when I have a costume, I'm in character for the night. Last year I was my former roommate, whose name I will not say this time on the podcast. But yeah, and I was just walking around as him all night, pretending to be him and saying things he would say and dressing like him. The funniest part was he was also at the Halloween party I was at, because it was in my small group of COVID friends. So like, I thought that was fun. So, co-hosts, what about you?
All right. So hi everyone, it's Hope Gooderl. My favorite part of Halloween is either gonna be the candy or the costumes, but like I wish I was one of those really good cosplayers that like could actually put an outfit together instead of just going and buying the generic. Because like I had a friend in high school and he made his own Iron Man costume, and actually went by Tony Stark for a while. And when we were at a friend's house, he came up to me and he was like, "Hi, Tony Stark. You could call me Tony." He was like, "Wait, let me start that over." And he walked away, came back. He was like, "Hi, I'm Anthony Stark, but you could call me Tony Stark." So yeah, he was full character for it all the time. But yeah, costumes, candy.
Wouldn't Tony Stark just walk into the room assuming everyone already knew his name?
Probably.
Unless
This is the same friend that can also do Harry Styles' signature quite well. So I have a fake Harry Styles autograph somewhere.
All right. Hello, Isaac Hunter here. Coming to you from my apartment. Gosh, what do I geek about Halloween? Is it cheating to just say everything?
Yes.
I guess I love, it's gonna sound cheesy, but like the atmosphere of it all. I don't know.
That feeling in the air.
That feeling in the air. I love the decorations. And so like on my windows and everything, I got like skeletons and ghosts and bats, vampires. I have pillows out that have a jack-o'-lantern on them and one that says Happy Halloween. I just love that. Love the costumes. I love looking at costumes and not buying them because they're expensive. Like at Spirit Halloween, I'll walk in, I'll be like, gosh, I just love being here.
Yep, I get that. And then my best friend goes, "I want to go to Spirit Halloween." I'm like, "With what money?" I realize you have a nice job, but like, with what money?
No, like last year, no, I lied. 2 years ago, my girlfriend and I went to Spirit Halloween with the idea of being, oh gosh, why can't I think of her name from Hocus Pocus, the blonde witch, and then she was gonna be blonde, and then I was gonna be Billy. But then we looked at the costumes, and they were so expensive that instead we went as she found like a spiderweb poncho thing at Spirit Halloween for like $15, and then I went as a spider. And that was it.
Love that.
I have a sweater that my mom made with like additional arms, so like a spider. It's like when I was packing things to come to move to college, I was like, I need this still, so it's in my closet.
Nice. Well, thank you both very much. We all love Halloween here at Raving Geeks. Now to get things started, we like to share some quick geek news. So, what have you got for us?
Um, oh,
Go for it,
I'll
because
start.
I found more.
So, I got two little bits of geek news, nothing big. The first one, if it counts as geek news, is that YouTube canceled YouTube Rewind for good, just mostly due to just them getting flack and people not really liking the YouTube Rewind videos. I remember liking them a long time ago, and then as the years went on, I was like, I don't really care about this.
Isn't the YouTube Rewind for like 2019 like the most disliked video on YouTube now?
I think
Like
so,
it surpassed Justin Bieber's Baby.
and it's
Mhm.
also up there with the Ghostbusters trailer for the all-female one.
Interesting. I
just-
didn't know that one that got that much hate.
Yeah, just the YouTube video, at least the trailer. And then my second piece of geek news is that Marvel has announced a new female Ghostwriter series.
MCU or just Marvel?
It's
Marvel
Marvel.
Comics.
Yeah, Marvel Comics.
Oh, the
And-
comic. Sweet.
Yeah. And so it follows Kushala, I believe is her name. And she is pretty interesting because she was also the Sorcerer Supreme from the 1800s, and then a ghostwriter turned spirit writer. And she's the only one who's managed to tame her spirit of vengeance. So she just kind of sounds like an all-around powerhouse. She comes from an Apache tribe, which is pretty neat. So she looks pretty cool. It looks like half of her face is a skull. I'm all for it. I love the concept of Ghostwriter. So really cool.
Awesome. My geek news is pretty short. As everyone probably knows, I'm a big fan of the show The Boys, and I've been keeping updated with the little clips they release every month called the 7-on-7, where they use Vought's news network that is all about spreading truth and being American. Just to give a little like tidbits and hints as to where the show is going to go in season 3, which has as of a few weeks ago finished filming, and filming was wrapped, so now they're just in post, and the show should be coming out. We should be getting either a trailer or like an official release date sometime soon, if we haven't gotten one by the time that this podcast released. But in the 7-on-7 that came out today, there were some hints at some potential storylines happening in season 3, which include the return of Stormfront, the villain of season 2, who we thought was dead but isn't really dead.
Nah, she's gonna be a cyborg. I call it now.
No, for those of you who can't picture her, she was the Nazi with lightning powers.
Who used to be Liberty?
Huh?
Like she had been Liberty, but then she got introduced as Stormfront.
Oh, Stormfront, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the husband of Vought, or the wife of Vought. The
Yeah.
original, like, I wanted to call it Velocity 9. That's not what it's called. The original Compound V.
Okay.
So, there's that. They've also like alluded to like Huey taking on a more public role with because he got that like political position at the end of season 2, working in is she the congresswoman's cabinet. So he's going to take on more of like a public figure role, fighting Vought and the boys. Also, if you've been watching the ads that happen in these, they're really, really funny. This week's one, The Deep, is sponsored by Liquid Death, like the actual company that like sells cans of water. And he's like, yeah, we're going to clean up the beach, get rid of all these plastics, and then just burns the plastics on the beach. It's like this is like the most like in your face satire I've ever seen. It's really funny. If you haven't been watching these, they're really good, and great little like hints as to where the show might be going. So yeah, the big Stormfront reveal is the big thing, but also I think it's interesting to see what they might be doing with Huey. And they have this weird story about a serial killer that is going around that Black Noir is hunting. So we'll see.
Interesting. All right. Well, Was that all your news? Sorry.
Yeah,
I just,
that's what I've got for this week.
All right. So to finish out our geek news portion, it was announced that the might that the writer of Midnight Mass, Mike Flanagan, is going to be creating a new limited series based on various works by Edgar Allan Poe called The Fall of the House of Usher, which I just read in one of my classes. So that's going to be really interesting. And like my professor was excited about it, so I'm even more excited about it.
I'm excited about it. I love Mike Flanagan.
I love Edgar Allan Poe, so like,
Yeah.
hopefully they do Edgar Allan Poe justice. Like, I need it. Riverdale fans, I am sorry to tell you that Mark Consuelos, who had been playing Hiram Lodge, is leaving the show after the season 5 finale. But instead, you now get Sabrina Spellman from Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. You are getting Kirinan Shipka as the teenage witch on Riverdale. Not sure how that's fully going to add in, but I'm kind of interested to get back into Riverdale just to see that. Going to WandaVision, which, beginning of summer and COVID stuff that got us through everything. Catherine Hahn is in development with Disney Plus and Marvel Studios to create a spin-off of Agatha Harkness.
Wow.
Wait, Agatha Harkness is getting her own show?
Yes.
I don't know how many of these rumors I'm gonna believe because there's so many like characters I've heard like, oh, they're getting a spin-off, and I'm like, are they?
Well, so sources apparently have described this as a dark comedy through exact plot detail, although exact plot details remain under wraps. The head writer of WandaVision, Jack Schaefer, would serve as the writer and executive producer on the project. So they are also saying that Jack Schaefer, this would be the first project that she has set up with Marvel since she signed an overall deal with them in May. So I'm kind of hoping for it because it would be really interesting to see like Agatha throughout the time that she was alive.
Since the Salem witch trials when she stole all those witches' powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It's
Agatha
weird
all
to
along.
think that WandaVision was earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten
It's
so
been a
much
long
Marvel
year.
content. We've gotten so much Marvel content since then. I'm like, oh, WandaVision, that's like 6 shows or like 6 Marvel things back now.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And because it is spooky season, the Halloween Michael Myers mask was made out of a Captain Kirk mask from Star Trek. And so it's just kind of creepy looking at them side by side because they look very similar, other than the fact that the Michael mask has bigger eye holes and his hair is like standing up more than Captain Kirk's. But yeah, that is courtesy of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, of course, on Facebook. He loves to share an annual reminder about this. So.
Never forget.
Never forget it. That is all that I have on Geek News.
Alrighty. Well, then I think that means we're going to move on to our main topic because it is spooky season here at Raving Geeks. So when we were talking about that, we're like, all right, what do we want to talk about? It's our spooky season podcast episode. There's a lot of things we could talk about. Do we want to talk about horror movies? Do we want to talk about like just the holiday of Halloween here in the United States? So we're like, let's just talk about everything.
In the beginning,
instead of
God
in the
created
beginning.
Halloween.
Yes, or
Oh.
whatever you believe in created
Yeah.
Halloween.
Blank. Enter name here.
Yes,
Agatha Harkness created.
Agatha Harkness.
It was her all along.
It's been Agatha.
Gotta bring it
And
back.
now here at the Church of Agatha Harkness. But anyway, so I figured there's a lot of different reasons that people like spooky season. There's a lot of different aspects of the holiday. So I figured let's start breaking it down. What do people love about spooky season? not that was rhetorical. Sorry, that was not that was a big question to ask. But yeah, there's a lot of different aspects. And originally, I was gonna approach this from a movie thing, like a movie standpoint, and just break down, different kinds of horror movies. But there's different kinds of people that like, spooky season. So I think, who would like to start? What type of spooky season person are you?
Ooh.
I
What
am
type of?
a
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Disney as my background. For those of you watching on YouTube, is of course the Sanderson sisters, flying with Binks coming after them. Um, but I am a Disney Halloween movie person. I personally don't like horror movies. My best friend made me watch The Conjuring twice, and the second time she told me it was a different movie. It was the same exact movie that she made me watch before. And
That's how
she
you get
made
them
me
right
watch.
there.
She even told my mom it was a different movie, and then we started watching it, and I was like, "You've shown me this before." She's like, "Well, we're already watching it." I was like, "I hate you so much." But it was in her basement. It was very dark, and her brother was being a giant big brother, coming downstairs or just creaking the floor above us and making it lovely. Um, and then I watched on my own the Chernobyl Diaries, which is not like horror like The Conjuring is, but it's got more of like the thrill horror. A person who has no legs moving very fast towards the characters. And the only reason why I watched that was Jesse McCartney was in it.
Mm.
So
Only reason, right?
that was the only. I was like, oh, he's in it. Okay, let me just see this. And then I watched it. I was like, never again. But then I think I actually also watched that with my best friend because then we were freaked out about the person who was from the waist up moving very fast for like the next week. But Hocus Pocus is one of my favorites. The zombie movies that Disney's come out with, Girl vs. Monster. Trying to think of other Halloween ones. Oh, Halloween Town is of course classics. Those are
Would it be fair to hope? Would it be fair to call you an ABC Family / Freeform Halloween person?
more Disney because they're
More
more
Disney?
Disney
Well,
than
the Haunted
Like
Mansion
Disney
is Disney.
Channel? Because I feel like ABC Family Freeform has like I don't know what they're called now. Has like their whole lineup of like movies, but none of them are horror movies. They're all just Halloween themed. Like you've got your Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, everything like that, something playing every night. Or is it
yeah.
specifically the Disney movies?
I mean, if it was on, if Freeform ABC was on, then I'd watch it. But like, I usually see them on Disney Channel first, so more Disney.
Speaking of, all Halloween Town movies are on Disney Plus.
Woo!
Yes.
Speaking of, I just watched the Haunted Mansion again last night on Disney Plus because it'd been so long since my girlfriend and I had seen it.
Is that the one with Eddie Murphy?
It is, and people say what they want. I love that movie. It's got fun vibes because it goes back to like the 1800s. But besides that, there's gonna be a Muppet Haunted Mansion coming out tomorrow on Disney Plus.
No way.
Didn't realize it was
Yes.
coming out tomorrow. I thought
I
it was
didn't know it
coming
was
out.
tomorrow.
Initial release October 8th, which is
Ooh.
tomorrow. Which for those watching this are gonna be like, yeah, we have already seen it. But
hmm
and I love Muppet movies.
They're great.
So Isaac, what kind of spooky season person are you?
Oh man. You two both did hit that nail on the head with costumes. Like I do love costumes. I love, as Brendan talked about, I love getting into character. It might just be that I've always liked that, which is why I became an actor. But like, man, like I don't know, dressing up and being someone else for a night, being a spooky monster, especially. I love that. I love pumpkins
Mhm.
in any form. I love buying pumpkins from a pumpkin
Patch?
pumpkin patch. Thank you. I was gonna say orchard, which is wrong.
I was gonna say farm, which is also not. I mean, it's not wrong, but it's not right.
Yeah. I mean, if you farm and you're a farmer, if it's a pumpkin patch, are you a patcher? But I love pumpkins, and I love carving pumpkins and making them into fun faces, even though I'm not nearly as good as some of the people I see on the internet. Walking like down the road in the fall and seeing people with like pumpkins on their steps is just like such a good feeling.
Mhm.
And like we don't get any sunlight here in Michigan, so I'm like used to just it being like gray and windy, and I'm like, yes, I'm at my strongest right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because I love movies, but I haven't actually seen a lot of horror movies. I've seen like a lot of the big name ones, but there's so many I haven't seen. So
I am definitely a horror movie type of spooky season person. I like scary movies. I like going to haunted houses. I like, haunted mazes. Those like I like the fear aspect of it. A thrill seeker. Um, I guess no, that's not really.
get
Yeah,
that
thrill
blood
seeking.
pumping.
Yeah. Well, thrill seek. What is it called? Are those people that go to Cedar Point? They call them thrill seekers. Is that their tagline? But then also like
Ish. Yeah.
Cedar Point still has like Halloween weekends where you got Snoopy in a witch's hat during the day, and then things that are slightly darker once the sun goes down.
Which is
But
not
yeah,
the same as the Halloween weekends at Greenfield Village, which was fun to go to because my best friend got scared by a person dressed as a scarecrow, like on the post. I had seen the person scare people ahead of us, but she wasn't paying attention. And so when like the person leaned forward and scared her, I just started laughing and almost like, yeah, it was great. But they are definitely not scary. They're kid oriented at Greenfield Village.
yeah. I like going to the ones that really try to get you because I usually won't break. Like I'll stay pretty neutral most of the time. But what if you can get me to react at a haunted house or like a haunted maze or something like that, I will applaud you.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm if you get me, I'm like I'll shake your hand if we're not in the middle of a pandemic. Um,
that's I love haunted like houses or like haunted halls. Like I went to
Mhm.
one last year for my friend got married in October, and so for his bachelor party we went to a haunted hall because he's never been to one, and it was really interesting because it was during COVID, and so there were like rules where like you couldn't be as packed. Like every group had to be like at least like it's like they did it in sections, and so you were like 20 feet from the people in front of you, where it's normally you're kind of like packed in a haunted house. And that was really nice. And then because everyone had to wear masks, all of like the themes were all mask themed. So there was like a haunted hospital theme, and then there was a post-apocalyptic theme, and then there was stuff like that. And they all managed to put masks into like the art, and I thought that was so cool. Oh man, jump scares. That is. I'm not like the most. I don't know, I get too scared, but it's like when you walk into a room and you expect like the three human looking things to be humans, and then suddenly it's like out of somewhere else. Someone's like, well, I'm a refrigerator. And you're like, what the heck?
I think 2 or 3 Halloweens ago, I went on a haunted boat. It was like a decommissioned military, not decommissioned or retired. Like you could still ride it as a boat, but it was like a military vessel that they turned into a haunted boat. I waited for over 2.5 hours in line to get in that thing, and it was worth it. The thing was, like, you had to climb down the ladders and everything, but they couldn't scare you while you're on the ladder. But as soon as you weren't touching the ladder, you were fair game. And they made that very clear to you. It was like they will not touch you while you go to, like they won't touch you, but like they will not interact with you while you're going down the ladder. Um, but like as soon as you let go, just letting you know. So yeah, I thought that was so much fun. That was a good time.
So I have a
That
quick
sounds so
question for both of you. If I shared a TikTok video of people burning a house that is haunted, but the spirits escape, would you appreciate it or no?
What do you mean?
Like I literally found a TikTok video today that they were like, this is a haunted house and we're burning it because it's so haunted. And then you could like see things that looked like spirits coming out of the smoke in certain parts. So it was quite interesting to watch. It's one of those like, do you actually believe in haunted houses and like actual haunted houses, not just like made up ones? But
I mean, if they have the property rights to burn the house and it's sanctioned safely, then I'll probably appreciate it. But that's kind of like,
I know. I was like, that sounds like arson.
yeah.
Well, I think the fire department was there, but
Oh,
yeah, it was.
Okay.
okay,
This
then,
must have been
yeah.
like a planned demolition or something. Because I'm like, that you can't just set houses on fire because you think they're haunted.
Well, according to Supernatural, you can.
Well, and there's a reason it's called supernatural and not just natural.
Oh, that was good.
Thanks. But anyway, I think for all of us though, as geeks, one of the easiest things to geek out about Halloween, Hope touched on it too, is like the Halloween spooky season media, even if it's not directly Halloween tied. And I feel like all of us have different things that we like to chunk it up. I know for me, I personally like horror movies, but horror movies is a pretty big genre. Um, you can divide them up into like your thrillers, your slashers, just your demonic possession, like your supernatural ones. You got your I guess serial killer ones that usually fall under thriller or
The
slasher, depending on
slasher.
what
You got psychological thriller,
psychological
which messes with
thrillers.
your
Those are
head.
and then the one of the best ones that I feel like a lot of people can get behind too, even if you're not into horror movies, is the spoof horror movie.
Like
That's like a
Paranormal
joke.
Activity or whatever.
No, because Paranormal Activity is supposed to actually be scary. You've got oh yeah, and then you've got your real life horror documentaries. Good point, Hope.
Yeah. Blair Witch.
Blair Witch. Yeah,
Found
you got stuff
footage.
like that. Um, but I'm talking like the spoof ones, like Scary Movie 5,
Scary. Yeah.
like those. But yeah, do either of you have a favorite among those kind of categories? A favorite type of horror movie, or a favorite horror movie? I know, Hope, you are not a fan of horror movies, so you do not have to give me an answer.
All right. All right. I have I'll do two. Because I love an argument can be made about because there's like sci-fi thrillers. You're like, is it thriller or is it sci-fi? And usually it's not lumped with the rest of horror movies. Uh, I do really like that as a genre though, like Alien or Predator, but like Alien and
I've seen
Aliens.
Alien and Predator. You can watch around spooky season and be like, yes, this is appropriate.
But one of my favorite movies, horror movies, I guess, is sci-fi horror, and that's The Thing. There's The Thing,
Oh,
and then there's The Thing that was made again as a prequel. But I'm talking about The Thing from the 80s with Kurt Russell, which takes place in Antarctica, and then they find a creature that can change its shape to look like people. Oh my gosh, what a good movie. And it is all practical effects, and so it's really good. Then they made a prequel to it, which is also called The Thing. And they filmed the entire thing with practical effects, and then later they were like, no, let's use CGI, and it's not as cool, but I love that. Secondly, favorite horror movie is Cabin in the Woods, which
Chris Hemsworth, right?
Chris Hemsworth, yes.
Okay.
I think that movie's so good because it's written and it's so different from any other horror movie. It's almost like a spoof because you're like, oh, it's gonna go in one direction, and then they're like, no, it's totally different. I don't even want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but oh my gosh, it's just written
that's on my list. When it came out, I wanted to see it, but I was still like young enough that my parents were like, "We get to control the films you watch," and I just haven't gotten around to it. Is it on a streaming
I
service?
think it's on Hulu.
Okay, I have Hulu.
Otherwise,
You just turned 21, so I mean, your parents would still be controlling it until your birthday, right? Because that's when you're actually an adult instead of a baby.
No.
baby
I had autonomy over what films I watched from like 15 onward. Like if I wanted to watch a movie, if I wanted to watch a movie, I could watch a movie. Like at that point, I had like if I wanted to rent it from somewhere, which is that still a thing? Do we rent DVDs?
Redbox.
Yeah, do Redbox?
Or your library.
I haven't been in a Kroger that has a Redbox in a while.
Our
anyway.
family video here in town closed, and that was sad.
Wait, it did close? I thought it was still open.
No, it closed.
No,
they all closed.
They finally were not making enough on DVDs that the CBD couldn't subsidize it.
Yeah.
That was their main advertisement. Was no longer movies. It was
what's scary is how many good deals I got from the closing family video. I got a lot. I got like,
And
I bought 10 video games. Like I shouldn't have, but they were selling them for like $10 a piece. And I was like, yes.
I should have gone
Good
when they were
stuff.
doing the closing sale. Dang it. I completely
I
missed
didn't
that.
even know they were having a closing sale. So,
Oh
but
well.
you can still get them like your libraries and stuff. You can still rent movies from there. Because that's
true.
what I've done before. If like I can't find a movie on Netflix or Hulu or anything, like it's
Libraries are
cheaper
so
to rent
good.
it from my library than to get it on Amazon Prime. So
Yeah, I love libraries. I'm not really. I don't have a library card in Mount Pleasant, which is where we go to school and film this
We got a
podcast.
few libraries in town.
Yeah, well, like I'm talking like the Mount Pleasant library because like how many like popular films does the Clark Historical Library have? Oh,
I have my
for those
library
of
card.
yeah, for those of you listening on audio, Isaac is flexing on all of us with his library card.
my
And
one
I'm
from my
getting a
hometown
screenshot.
is expiring soon.
Mine expired a few years ago, and I just have never been in my hometown enough to justify going and getting another one. Because I know I talked about those specific categories, and I really like horror movies, so I have to give like my favorite for each of those little categories. My favorite like thriller of all time. I'm gonna have a lot of ties on this list because there's a lot of really good scary movies. But I have a tie. They're both actually really recent. Because I feel like with CGI and like the way we tell stories now, thrillers have been like something really impressive. And that's A Quiet Place and Us.
Mm,
Jordan Peele is a really good
mhm.
director, and like any Jordan Peele film, Get Out is also really good. But Us is just really psychologically interesting. Um,
Yeah,
and I
eerie.
it's weird, and it like even after like the big like plot twist at the end, I was still thinking like, oh well, I still don't get it. Where did everything come from? And
Yeah.
like I need to watch it again. Um, because I watched it on a plane originally, so I didn't like get the full experience, but I need to watch it like again. But A Quiet Place, when I first saw it in theaters, I was like, this movie is fantastic. Not only is there like great storytelling and a
Mhm.
lot of great character development for like, especially for like a horror type movie, um, but also like there's representation of the deaf community, like in a way that like doesn't seem like belittling of the community or forced in a way, like you know how like sometimes not forced but like there's always room for representation, but like it's like see like ASL super useful to
Yeah.
know. Like not like you'll need
Mhm.
ASL in the apocalypse, but you can communicate with people really easily, and when you have that like when they're in like spaces where you have to be quiet and things like that, advantageous even if you aren't um even if it's not a necessity for you to know it. It's always helpful because then sometimes you can communicate with people you wouldn't be able to communicate with initially. So, but yeah, the film was really, really, really good. And if you haven't seen either of those, I would recommend. But then, yeah, my favorite slasher. I don't watch a ton of slashers because they're not always my favorite. But the original Halloween is a classic. Those are really good. Or like the whole series, the whole Michael Myers thing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, the
Have,
original
have you
Halloween is really
watched
good.
the new ones that are direct sequels to the original first one?
No, I haven't
Because
seen
there's a new one coming out this year. That's the second of the new ones,
Mhm.
but it's like Jamie Lee Curtis is like old and like it's still her and
Because
it's
I
good.
think this is supposed to be like the last Halloween
It's
movie
called
or
Halloween
something.
Kills, right?
Mhm.
He
I've
does.
seen the ads for it. So
Mr. Halloween. No, that is you're right. I kind of wasn't thinking about slashers, but Halloween's good.
the Saw
My
movies are good, but like those are a niche.
yeah, that's like what is the other? Is it body horror? Is that the term where it's just like body, blood and
Body
stuff?
parts.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, just speaking of slasher, real quick, I just want to do a shout out for Scream. I love Scream, the original first one. I love Scream. I like the TV series on Netflix, Scream. I loved it. I watched it twice. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but 2
No, I
seasons.
watched Scream Queens with Michelle
Ooh,
Lee
yeah.
and
Quality of Throne.
Emma Roberts.
Is Bella Thorne not in that?
She might be in later seasons, but like I kind of quit after the second season.
Hmm.
That was
Anyway,
also kind of like I was only hooked because of certain characters, but then I also got frustrated with like the plot line of it because I was like, this is stupid. And just
Yeah.
But also, I just thought of another one that kind of fits in the thriller category. But if any of you have seen what's it called, Hush. Premise of the movie is there's I believe she's deaf and mute, a woman that lives alone in the woods, and she's an author, so she like goes like isolates to like write. And then a serial killer decides to come try and toy with her to have fun, to try and kill her in the most fun way possible for him. And then she has to work her way out because she can't scream for help. She can't hear him. Like if he breaks a window, she doesn't know he's in the house. Um, and she just has to survive. And it's a really good movie. But also, so my favorite demonic, like supernatural-esque horror movies. This is another a close one, but the original Poltergeist. I think the only name that I know in it for sure is Drew Barrymore. And that's when she was like little. She was young I think it's from the
Yeah.
80s. But the original Poltergeist was really good. Like obviously it doesn't hold up to like the new CGI and everything, but still really fun. But a newer one that I think is a really good horror movie is Sinister. Scott Derrickson, the same director that directed
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, directed that one. That movie's really good. The sequel is also entertaining, but it's a little bit different. But Sinister is really, really cool. Really fun. Like that was one of the few like horror movies where I was like genuinely scared. I was like, I don't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. I'm really curious.
It's spooky.
It is
so
spooky. Also,
I just found out. Oh, I was gonna say I just found out that one movie that I liked is actually considered horror in the horror film genre. It's called Overlord, and it stars Wyatt Russell. And so what IMDb, like the quick bio for or thing for it, is a small group of American soldiers find horror behind enemy lines on eve of D-Day. And so I actually really liked that one. I told my dad that it was kind of a darker version of Captain America because it's the Germans and they're in this small town and basically find a way to make a super soldier serum. Only it's not as refined as Captain America. And like Wyatt Russell ends up taking the super soldier serum. So he gets to become Captain America before he becomes
Foreshadowing.
But it was good. There was a lot of gore, but it was good. Like I really liked it. So I do have a favorite horror film, apparently.
awesome. That's really funny that Wyatt Russell takes a super soldier serum in this horror movie, seeing as he's now the U.S. agent, or John Walker.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Most people would know him
The-
from Falcon and Winter
Yeah.
Soldier. But yeah. Also, Hope, I know you said you've seen The Conjuring. Have you seen The Conjuring 2?
No, that is what my friend
I mean,
wanted me
if
to
she's seen,
watch the second time, but it was the first Conjuring the first time. Not
Well,
watching any
if
more.
she's
of
watched the first one twice, that counts, right?
yeah, that's The Conjuring
Shut it.
TOO.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually I went to France for a trip when I was in high school, and then we went to the movie theaters and we're like, "What do we want to see?" And he's like, "Let's see The Conjuring 2." So I watched it, but the whole thing was in French, and I was 16. I didn't really know it that well, so I was like, I'm kind of scared, but also I don't know what they're saying, so I don't know if I should be. So like I jumped at the jump scares, but that was about it.
And this is why you learned French more.
Oh yeah, there weren't. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't understand this movie, so I'm like, if I ever need to watch a horror movie in French again when I'm in France, I need to know the language better, and that's why this is my
Well,
going on 10 years learning the language.
it's on HBO Max, so you could watch it in English now.
Oh, I've
and
seen it in
actually
English.
understand.
It doesn't hold up. It was better when I watched it in French.
Yeah, the first one I think is my favorite of The Conjuring. Like of all of those movies.
Was there a
The
Conjuring
Nun and
3,
Annabelle.
or was there just like
Yes.
okay?
It just came out like last month, and I
And
watched
then
it
you've
with my
got
siblings.
both Annabelle movies, which are in the same universe and involve the same characters, right? I saw Annabelle 1.
And the Nun. Yeah, I watched Annabelle, and I was like,
Speaking of,
Okay, but like the original doll of Annabelle is like the Raggedy Ann doll, and
yeah,
it creeps
which is
me out.
it's more terrifying. Gosh.
Yes. I'm like, why didn't you use that doll? Because that one, I mean, it's creepy, but like, come on.
I mean, maybe
Actually, I think
because Raggedy Ann's like a symbol, and they don't want to
That's
make Raggedy Ann terrifying.
it's copyrighted,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I think the reason we went to see Conjuring 2 when I was in France is because the person I was with when he was in the US, I took him to see Annabelle. Because he was here at
Look at
Halloween
that.
time. Like
Perfectly balanced, as all things should
as all
be.
things should be. Spoilers for What If, but like the best meme I've seen about when spoilers, skip ahead about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
This is so Ultron Vision, like Infinity Ultron, I think is what we're calling him, just like Mind Stones Thanos in half, like with a laser. And then I saw memes like perfectly balanced, as all things should be, but it's both halves of Thanos.
Ah,
It was that was so good. Anyway, tangent.
so
That
good.
has nothing.
That was a good spoiler, Brendan. Thank you, people
Yes, all right,
joining us
spoiler-
now.
Spoiler done. But yeah. So the last like major category that I'm thinking of. Unless wait, Hope, what was the added category? Oh, the documentary one, Blair Witch Project. That's good. But my favorite like sham horror movie, the spoof horror movie. This is honestly one of my favorite movies of all time. Not just horror movies, but it's called Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
It's so good. Oh, what a good movie.
I love this movie. So there's these two guys that bought this like raggedy old shack out in the woods, and they're going for a weekend. They're both like good old country boys, and they're gonna fix up this cabin in the woods. But at the same time, there's this group of college students going camping in the same area, and the college students think that the two
Hillbillies.
hillbillies, the two like country boys are like the antagonists of a horror film. They're like, those guys are crazy, they're gonna kill us. So they're like just wary of them, so they just think they're in danger the whole time. And then all the college kids and like through like just freak accidents end up like getting like kind of killed. It's such a good movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's on Netflix. Highly recommend.
It's fantastic. Alan Tudyk is Tucker, and everyone loves Alan Tudyk. He's in everything.
Who plays Dale?
Dale, I don't know his name. I could look it up, but he's in a few things. If you watched Voltron on Netflix, he plays one of those guys in Voltron. He ran the Yellow Lion. He's in Dirk Gently, season 2.
Tyler the Bean.
But he's good too. They're funny. It's so good. And the movie really teaches you a thing about stereotypes and how you shouldn't assume things. You shouldn't stereotype someone just because of stories from the past or other things. And it's just funny.
Okay, so
it's like sorry.
Oh, he's in New
Brendan.
Amsterdam, like the TV show.
Ooh.
Yes, Hope.
Brendan, you just reminded me of something I'd read, and I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I think it's from Silence of the Lambs, where it's like it was like the people in the cornfield or whatever.
Silence of the Lambs isn't about people in the cornfield.
That's Children of the Corn is people in the cornfield.
Children of the Corn.
Yeah,
People
then
in the cornfield.
Children of the Corn. There we go. That
Silence
makes sense.
of the Lambs is Anthony Hopkins is like the biggest serial killer of all time, Hannibal the Cannibal.
No, okay,
only on screen for like 12 minutes.
Children of the Corn. What happened was like the people who lived around that area, I guess like someone was filming something else, and so these people were messing with like the filmmakers and stuff, and like in all the corn stalks and like talking and whispering and stuff, which is what like all of a sudden caused the filmmakers to be like, it's haunted and we need to make a movie about this. So like it's actually just country folk having fun on city folk. But but I don't know how accurate it is, but it sounds about right for like, you know, we city folk don't always understand what happens in the country, so.
Mhm.
City folk just don't get it.
No, we don't.
No.
But anyway, I went on my horror movie rant. But Hope, do you have a favorite spooky season movie? Because besides horror movies, there's also just Halloween movies that aren't about being scared. They're about celebrating the holiday and the themes of Halloween beyond just putting on costumes to ward off the demons of old.
Um, I mean, I really like Girl versus Monster in the fact of like, I mean, there's technically like three demons that are like the big three, and the main girl's mom is or mom and dad are like hunters of these things, and they caught the demons, so this girl grows up without any fear, and then it gets released and she has to deal with it. But I also really like how Hocus Pocus, like when the Sanderson sisters come back, like they go into why kids dress up in costumes was so that they warded off evil spirits and like witches who were trying to kill them. And I don't know, like I'm trying to think of just Halloween movies in general. Halloween sounds pretty good, but I don't
Halloween
know.
Town is pretty good.
I don't know if there's any that really go into in depth about anything like the accuracy of Halloween or anything like what is behind Halloween.
Well, I mean, Hocus Pocus 2 is on its way, so it has the opportunity. I mean, it doesn't have to be like about the history of Halloween to be a spooky season thing. It's like
Yeah.
how Die Hard is a Christmas movie because it happens on Christmas. Like
Amen.
I consider Stranger Things to be a Halloween show, at least
Mm.
season 1, and then season 2 you watch around the 4th of July, or no.
hmm
No, season 1 and season 2 you watch Halloween. Season 3 you watch around 4th of July, and season 4 you'll watch around Thanksgiving.
You'll watch on Easter because it
I have
came back for another season. I'm just kidding.
I mean, they have to. That's Netflix's like first original thing, and I would consider Stranger Things a spooky season show. Do you guys have a favorite spooky season show? Something you want to watch around
well,
Halloween time?
You could
I
also
do.
we could also think about really quick anything that has to do with the Grimm fairy tales and stuff. So like Hansel and Gretel with Jeremy Renner, I think is a really good for around Halloween time.
We should have talked about that one last week.
Plus
I
also-
completely forgot. When we talked about
Right, I just thought of it too. I was like, what the
the
heck?
Hansel and Gretel with Jeremy Renner. Oh, that was a good retelling. Oh well. We'll just posthumously add that into last week's episode. Pretend it was there.
You know, Jeremy Renner gets butt naked and
Oh,
Does
never
Oh.
mind. We don't have to. I forgot about that.
I haven't
We don't
I haven't
have
seen
to.
it yet, but now I
they also create diabetes in in Hansel and Gretel.
Like
Like,
they
they're like-
invent it.
Yeah, well, not that they invent it, but they're like, hey, by the way, the fact that he had to eat all this candy, there were side effects of that because they have him taking like insulin and stuff. So
my favorite spooky season specifically, like movie and TV show. Movie, probably Nightmare Before Christmas, which can also be a Christmas movie. And I'll stand by that argument. But I just love that movie. I watch that every year, probably more than once. It just has such good Halloween vibes. Considering it's about Halloween. Actually, like kind of like all like that one and Coraline. I love Coraline and
Coraline's a horror movie. Coraline is not like
Yeah.
just a spooky. Coraline is
No.
a horror movie.
yeah, no, it is. And even the book, like we have the book because I love Neil Gaiman, and that's a horror. It's a kid's book, but it's terrifying.
Terrifying.
I
Um,
realized it was a book. Okay.
yeah, Neil Gaiman. You gotta read it. It's only like this big. But I love that. Corpse Bride. That's good too.
That's not a
Uh,
horror movie.
No,
Have
but
either of
I
you
watch it around
seen-
Halloween.
Oh no,
Have you-
it's a Halloween movie, but I'm like I feel
Yeah.
good after watching that one.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't sleep after Coraline, and one of my favorite movies is Us. Like,
Yeah.
I can go to bed after Us. I can go to bed after The Conjuring. I can go to bed after Coraline.
Have either of you seen the TV show Grimm?
hmm Not all of it, but I watched some of it when it was on
Um,
TV.
That one and also Sleepy Hollow, or the
Mm.
TV show Sleepy Hollow. But also spooky season is also Jack Sparrow. Oh my gosh,
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Thank you. His season is Johnny Depp's season because you got all the Tim Burton films with him in it. You got
Yeah.
like
Oh,
Sweeney
Tim
Todd
Burton.
and Edward Scissorhands. Which
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd I think could go into a horror movie in Edward Scissorhands in a
Yeah.
way, but like Sweeney
No,
Todd
definitely.
most definitely.
Halloween vibes. Yeah. Spooky
Oh,
season.
another horror movie that's a horror movie that like doesn't look like it should be, but definitely is. Monster House.
Monster House is terrifying. Kids, adults, oh my gosh. I couldn't sleep after watching Monster House.
I went to my place in the UP and was up there on Friday the 13th, the first time I ever watched Monster House. Worst mistake of my life.
Never.
That's all I have to say.
Never ever watch a spooky movie of any kind on any Friday the 13th or any 13th day.
It's fine. It's just when it's foggy, Friday the 13th, I just watched a horror movie and I'm driving past a graveyard. I feel like
And
I've
you're
done all-
isolated, yeah.
Like, I'm like, what steps did I have to do to get here? It was me and one other person that was up there with me, and I'm like, we're gonna die, aren't we? And they're like, yeah, we're probably gonna die. Sorry.
That movie made me terrified of concrete.
That movie
Ter-
made me. Basements are already scary. I'm like, how do I know there's not a ghost buried underneath all this?
Mhm.
Fun fact about cement and concrete: if you add sugar to it, it won't set. So, like, if you're ever scared of wet cement and concrete, just add a little bit of sugar, so it won't set.
You can still drown in concrete.
Which is what happens in Monster House, and I feel like adding sugar wouldn't help. Just like a pinch of sugar, and it's like, oh, no problem.
I mean, you gotta do the spoonful of sugar. Come on.
I think you need several spoonfuls and like large spoons.
Please tell me that you guys got that reference when I said you need a spoonful.
Yeah, I got that.
A spoonful.
Yeah,
of
you're
sugar
quoting
will
you're quoting
go down.
the original
like,
witch
freeze
herself.
past it. Yeah, you just freeze
Don't
past
call
it.
Mary
Mary
so-
Poppins.
a witch.
Which,
How is
well,
she not?
if you go with the Nanny McPhee version,
I love
of
Nanny McPhee.
Poppins,
But
which we could have talked about last
Mary
week as well.
Poppins, Mary Poppins is a witch,
yes,
and I'm not saying that as a bad thing.
No.
She just is. She's magical.
Is she?
She
I
can
thought
fly.
She was something else.
What, an angel?
Yeah.
Grow up, Brendan. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Angels aren't real, but witches are. That's okay. That's
Witch-
to take away the podcast. We can end it right now.
I blame
Angels
witches.
aren't real, but witches are.
see, but there's good and bad witches. So, like, I mean, if you watch
Good
Wizards
witch.
of,
Glenda?
I was
Glinda's
also
the
talking
villain.
about
just a
Hocus
heads up.
Pocus, y'all. Or
Those are
Hansel
all
and Gretel.
bad witches.
Or Hansel and Gretel, because if you go by
Yeah.
Hansel and Gretel, you can actually tell who's a bad witch because they look ugly, but good witches you can't tell because they look like normal people. But yes, good witches, bad witches. Although if you go by Wizards of Waverly Place, there can be bad angels because they have black wings versus good angels that have white wings.
I'd like to argue that because if you watch Wicked, like the one that looks nice is actually the bad one, and the one that looks mean is actually the good one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But that is also because
Appearances can be
I can't
deceiving.
spoil it. I can't spoil who Elphaba's real father is. But
What?
Spoilers.
do you not know who
Elphaba.
Elphaba's real father is?
Wait, like, is that revealed in the play?
Yeah, because the
Okay.
reason why she's green,
Well-
her mother drinks the green like liquor
Yeah.
or whatever when she has the affair with the man when her husband goes. And then you see later on, Glinda figures out who Elphaba's real father is because of the green thing that he's drinking.
Yes,
I'm not going to spoil it, but like,
There's also
I
a book series, which the play is based on.
I am
This is true.
remembering this now. Yeah, I saw the play once, so sorry.
I've seen it twice.
I listen to it on road trips.
It's very good for road trips.
Yeah, it is.
It's like Hamilton. It lasts for a while.
So we've talked about Halloween films, Halloween TV shows. How about Halloween music? Spooky season music.
Jekyll
The
and
Monster
Hyde.
Mash.
That's a good one too. But Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that one, high quality, definitely.
Wait, is that a song? Is that music?
It's a musical, so
Oh.
any songs from Jekyll and Hyde.
When I hear Jekyll and Hyde as music, I think of the episode of Arthur where he gets a library card. And there's the song about having fun isn't hard when you have a library card. And then he goes on and there's a little chorus line that goes Jekyll, Jekyll, Hyde, Hyde, Jekyll.
No.
There's
Don't
that.
remember that from Arthur at all.
You're missing out.
My favorite spooky season song, if any of you have ever seen 30 Rock, the song is called Werewolf Bar Mitzvah. If you haven't heard that, I highly recommend. It's a very good song. Just to give you a preview, the chorus is Werewolf Bar Mitzvah, spooky, scary, boys becoming men, men becoming wolves. And that's like the gist of the song. You have a bar mitzvah for boys to become men, and then if you're werewolves, you also have a ceremony to become wolves. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole song, and I really like spook things that aren't supposed to be taken seriously, and I think it's really funny. Yeah. How about spooky season books?
Ooh. I have a book. I have two books. Well, also I have Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft. Even though the guy was not a good person, I love his work. I love, Cthulhu, terrifying. Besides that, though, I do have a couple books my sister got me for my birthday called Falcon Quinn, and then it's like in the Black Mirror, and then Falcon Quinn and the Red Mist, I think. But basically, it's like Harry Potter, but instead of a wizard going to a wizard school, it's he goes to a school for monsters, and it's like everyone is a monster. So his best friend is like a Sasquatch. His other best friend is like an air elemental. He doesn't know what he is, and that's like the whole point of the first book is he's trying to figure out what he is. But there's like werewolves and vampires and ghouls, and there's a were-slug, and it's really funny because she like starts crying at one point, and it starts, the salt in her tears starts to like melt her face. It's funny, I swear. But those are pretty wholesome. They're like young adult books because I got them when I was younger. But
Spider Chronicles.
Oh my god!
Like those books are only like this big, and but they are really good, and like you can watch the movie too, but like the books are amazing.
Yeah, good art too, because it's like the pair, the writer and the artist, and they do everything together. Such cool art. Fairies and like elves in those books are so cool looking.
They're so
cool. One of my favorite series is.
I was gonna say you could get like there's like a journal of like all of the different creatures too for the Spiderwick Chronicles, and the artwork is beautiful. It's amazing. Sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
It reminded me. My favorite book series is one of my favorite book series of all time is called like The Last Apprentice. I've talked about it in different episodes of the pod, but that's a horror fantasy series. It takes place like in like 16th or 17th century England, maybe even before then. But like really cool concept. And at the end of each book, they have like a bestiary of like everything that you encountered throughout the book and like or in the past, and descriptions of it. So that reminded me of that, and it's pretty cool. I listened to it on audiobook. Cool. I listened to audiobooks to go to bed as a kid, so I listened to those. I'm really good at falling asleep while scared now because I would just listen to it while scared, and then I'm like, well, time to sleep. So, alrighty. What other categories? What other parts of spooky season are fun? Ooh, favorite spooky season food.
Candy corn or candy pumpkins. I know people.
I am a fan of candy corn as well. Yeah. I love all candy. I love pumpkin pie, which is also a Thanksgiving food. So I'll push that away. I don't know. So there's something that hits differently when you got candy as a kid and you pulled out the little square bags of Skittles that had like 7 Skittles in them, but for some reason those Skittles were the best tasting Skittles.
Did you see that they're bringing back the original lime flavor for the green?
Yes,
Good.
they actually are they bringing that back in total? Because I have bought
Yeah.
a few bags of the only lime Skittles, and those are fantastic.
I believe they're supposed to be coming back in everything. So
Oh, thank
Question
goodness.
about Skittles. Are you guys, like, for those little packets that have like 7 Skittles in them? Do you dump the whole thing in your hand and then throw them all in your mouth, or do you eat them one at a time?
Normally one at a time.
I will
And I
toss
can-
I will handfuls in my mouth.
okay, so I don't actually eat Skittles, but like I do this with M&Ms, and if it's mini M&Ms, I'll just like pour it out and eat it all.
Yeah.
But like the bigger ones, I'll like pour out, and then sometimes I'll eat a couple at a time. But then I also start doing by color, but like it's not any
Mhm.
specific reason other than like, oh, there's like 2 left of blue. Let me just finish off the blue. So
No, yeah, I'll eat grape and strawberry or grape and cherry Skittles first. Or is it strawberry? It's strawberry, right? I don't even remember.
The red ones?
I'll eat those
I think,
first. Yeah,
I think they're
strawberry.
cherry.
I'll eat those first, and then
Alexa.
I'll eat orange, and then I'll eat the yellow and green together because I love lemon.
1 second. I'm using
Brendan,
the
are you
internet.
looking up the flavor.
Yeah, what flavor? I'm pretty sure they're cherry. No, they're strawberry. I'm wrong. I always thought they were cherry. That's just wistful thinking on my part.
That's what happens when you eat them all at once.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what they taste like. I just like the
what
big
about-
blob of flavor.
What are your favorite like classic like Halloween monsters?
Wait, but I didn't get to say my favorite
Oh
Halloween
yeah,
food.
say yours, Brendan.
Sorry.
I really like pigs in a blanket, but in Halloween time they're called the mummies.
The mummies? Yeah.
I
Oh
love
my
those.
gosh.
Halloween parties, I will snack on those all night. I will eat half of the tray of them. Those are so good. But yes,
Yeah.
favorite classic Halloween like monster. I think I gotta actually no, I gotta think on this for a second. Never mind.
See, this is a tough question because like depending on the like how it's presented, how the monster is presented. Because like there are some versions that I won't name names because I know some people like this series where the author completely butchered the creatures. But then there's other series that like the authors actually do their homework and can portray them correctly. But honestly, if I have to go with anything and pick one specific thing, I'd probably pick witches / wizards. But
Good
we'll
choice,
just say
good
witches
choice.
in general. I like magic.
Witches?
Mhm.
I am partially witches because I like that. I love how like people decorate witches. Like sometimes it's very stereotypical, like black hat, black robes, striped socks, leggings, or whatever they are, pantyhose. But my favorite Halloween monster or like classical monster is I really like, which we don't see enough of it, but is any of like the headless horseman variety. I love like the headless creatures that you sometimes often have like a jack-o'-lantern head or creatures with pumpkin heads. I really like as well. I don't know. I just something about that. Pretty neat.
I have to go with yeah. There's a couple of different ideas about like what this is depending on what you read, but the idea of a boggart, like I know you've got the Harry Potter one where it's just kind of a nuisance and it's there to scare you, and then you have like in The Last Apprentice, a boggart is like can range from being just a nuisance to being like a very scary and dangerous physical manifestation of like an idea. Like there's the boggart that he befriends, like normally when it's happy it shows up as a cat, but when it's angry it shows up as like it doesn't, you don't see it ever face on, because if you see it face on when it's angry you're dead. But it's like a big feral like animal type thing, but it's still a spirit. I think they're really cool, just like that range. And
Yeah.
like the idea of them, that they're not a spirit, they're actually a creature and a thing, but they're also like not visible. And they kind of can make deals and things like that. I like the magic behind them. But anyway, that is spooky season. And as always here on Raving Geeks, we like to give you recommendations. This episode was one full of recommendations, but if our hosts have anything else that they'd like to recommend, feel free and go ahead.
All right. So I have a prop with me for those of you who are listening. It is the book Six of Crows that I just started reading by Leah Bardot, I think is how you say her name. Shadow and Bone. If you either watch the series on Netflix or know the trilogy. I fell in love with Kaz Brecker when I watched the show, and Kaz Brecker is in Six of Crows, and I am in love with him even more. He is very well written. He was very well portrayed. So I am recommending Six of Crows and or Shadow and Bone if you want to watch it or read it. So next person.
Okay. My recommendation, which I've recommended it before, and I'll recommend it again, is Over the Garden Wall, TV series, originally aired on Cartoon Network, features Elijah Wood, John Cleese, everyone. It features a lot of people. But it is currently on Hulu. It is 12 episodes. Each one is like 10 minutes. You can watch it all the way through, the length of a movie, otherwise split them up. Great music, great vibes. It's fantastic. And the best part is you can watch it at the end of summer, at the beginning of fall, the middle of fall, the end of fall. You can watch it after Halloween. You can watch it at the beginning of winter because it kind of goes over that whole period. And it's so good. And I love it. And I've been holding out on saying it the whole episode, so I can say it right now. Go watch Over the Garden Wall. Watch it twice. Brendan?
Nice. Well, I gave a lot of recommendations for movies and stuff this episode, so I recommended any of those that I've said. But I don't know if I've recommended this before, but it's a series it's the Bright Empire series by Stephen Lawhead. It's a book series. The first book is called The Skin Map, and basically the premise is there are these ley lines that people are able to travel through time, but they're really confusing and random. But there was one guy in history that was able to map them out, and he tattooed the map on his skin, so when he died, he was skinned, and pieces of the map were scattered throughout time. And the story is about people that just happen to like accidentally get involved in this race for to find the skin map. It has to do with it's really cool like ideas about physics. It gets sciencey. It's a cool like science fiction fantasy philosophy type thing. And it's really fun. I haven't finished the series, but I've only read the first two, but it's really good. I need to find the third book. I can't.
The TV series, The Librarians, which is based on the movies with Noah Weil in them, talks about ley lines and like people trying to release magic back into. So if anybody is curious why they know ley lines, it is because of either skin map or
I mean, it's ley lines are like in a lot of stuff. A lot of people thought like Stonehenge was like a convergence of ley lines, like in history. But anyway, that is all we have for you today. Thank you for joining us here on Raving Geeks, our spooky season edition. Make sure to leave a comment wherever you're listening from. We love to hear from you. We'd love to hear recommendations for what you like to hear from us, comments on what you thought. If you had any more like ideas of spooky season that you really like and aspects of it that are your favorite, feel free to let us know. We'll read them in next week's episode. You can reach out to us on our Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok at Raving Geeks. And as always, I've been Brendan Valentine along with my fellow co-hosts.
Hope Good Earl.
And I'm Isaac Hunter. Ooh.
Stay geeky and have a great weeky, everyone. Good night.
Or good afternoon. Whenever you're watching, listening.